Greetings from New Jersey Institute of Technology. This is Mike Smullen. I'm Executive Director of the Alumni Relations Office at NJIT, and I'm proud to welcome you to our latest Highlander chat. I'm extremely proud to welcome our next guest, Dr. Joel Bloom, President of NJIT. Dr. Bloom, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mike. Before you and I have our Q&A, I do have a special guest who would like to make a brief comment to our alumni. Please, Dr. Bloom, Diane Bloom.
Thank you. Good afternoon, alumni. I just want to say hello and wish you and your loved ones well during this crisis. And I want to thank you for your continued participation in our outstanding university and our students. And so with those good wishes, I wish to return this back to our president, Joe Bloom.
Thank you, Diane. Allow me to add to the First Lady's good wishes. These are clearly times of great tragedy and many cases trauma. The COVID-19 crisis is unlike anything most of us ever seen in our lifetime. And I do want to assure you that we are doing the best we can for our students, for our staff, our faculty, our NJIT community, including you, our dear alums. So greetings on the behalf of the NJIT Newark-based community to all of you out there. And we thank you for your participation, your concern, and the numerous questions that many of you have raised and I've had an opportunity to respond to. So thank you, Michael.
Thanks so much. As we were just talking about, I think it's absolutely thrilling to see both Doctors Bloom on camera today. One of the great things about being alumni director at NJIT is that I have the opportunity to connect you and so many faculty and staff with alumni around the country. And what they love most is hearing from you about what's going on campus, what's happening both on campus, but also off campus, hearing about the rankings, the campus construction, every great thing that's been happening on campus. But right now, I think what's most top of mind for all alumni is NJIT's response to the coronavirus, both for students and the community at large. So first question we wanted to start with was, how are the students doing so far? And then maybe how's the campus community doing as well?
So I believe we were able to pivot in about 11 days with some alacrity to an all online delivery of instruction. Our students did very well, our faculty did amazingly well, and the support staff to enable us to be online did extremely well. I had the opportunity just this past week to speak with the outgoing Student Senate President and the incoming Student Senate President. And I usually do that about once a month. This is a transition time. The feedback from them was highly positive about how well their university, our university, responded to COVID-19 and going from in-person instruction 90+% of the time to online instruction. In fact, some of them, and they told me stories about their colleagues that raved about how much more time they had access to our faculty because it was online. And if they recorded or if the instruction was recorded, they had more of an opportunity to review that instruction and maybe hearing it a second or maybe a third time, they fully understood it. I've had the opportunity to engage other students throughout these now going on almost a month since we have gone online as of March 23rd. And it's been very positive. This movement to online obviously was led by our Senior Executive Vice President and alum and Provost, Fadi Deek, and his academic colleagues, our Faculty Senate under shared governance, our deans, our chairs, our faculty who stepped up big time to the challenge. NJIT can claim with all kind of assurance that we did not drop a course that started in spring of 2020, and we have now completed it as of May 5th, the end of the semester. We're just about finishing up finals as we speak, and it all went well online. Did we learn? Did we make some errors? Certainly. Are we going to utilize what we learned? Yes. The summer session will be all online. So our students faring rather well. We did obviously made sure we returned to them any unused portion of their parking fees, their meal plan fees, as well for those who are living in residence, those fees. We're also helping them obviously with some of what the federal government has funded or allocated for them to give them some relief. We're doing it as we speak to our students. So students were positive. We have at least the summer enrollment that we had last year, maybe even a little more. So students are very interested, our students are very interested in continuing their learning. The enrollment for next year as compared to, and I participate in other meetings with other presidents from both public and private universities, and our enrollment as compared to what's being forecasted nationally, which is a 10% at minimum decline, our enrollment looks as though it may be off under 5%. Most of that, or all of that decline, is at the international student level, at our graduate, masters, and some of our PhD students. Our undergraduate enrollment for fall 2020 is appreciating. And by the way, we had over 10,000 applications for approximately 1,600 freshman seats. So we celebrate our students. We celebrate the diversity of our students and how hard they work and how high they achieve. So that's the status, Michael, of our students.
Thank you for that. It's great to hear how much we're student oriented and how we're trying to take care of the students. I know this is something that's a university effort as a whole. So I've had the pleasure of participating in some of the committees that have helped develop some of the plans, but just given that broad view, I wonder how the rest of the NJIT community is responding to this. There was a task force that was put together, but there's so much going on. How do you see the NJIT community pulling together for us?
Very well. You mentioned the task force. So we immediately launched the task force as we realized where we were going with regard to finishing spring 2020 semester. That task force was chaired by another alum and an employee of NJIT, Senior Vice President for Capital Development and Facilities, Andrew Christ. Andrew built on, we've always had, all universities today have emergency plans, nothing to deal with the magnitude, of course, of COVID-19. But Andrew pulled together a task force that was rather representative across the community. We then shortly after that added an advisory committee, and this time to ensure good representation, good input, good ongoing feedback and evaluation about how we were doing. So the task force and advisory committee began its work, and there were a myriad of details to resolve, as you could imagine. And we distributed laptops on loan. We distributed mainframe, tabletop computers. We distributed webcams to students and to faculty. Desktops was the term I was looking for, to make sure that everyone had access. And again, a running start, we evaluated at the end of week 1, about the 30th of March, got very positive feedback from faculty and staff from a survey that we did, and again, made some tweaks and responded to the concerns of individual students and individual faculty. We are now transitioning that group of people in particular. And you may have seen on our website, we have a website, if you've not seen it, the university website has a banner across it, COVID-19. And in chronological order, we put out or post the announcements that we have made community-wide. And if you go to that website, you'll note last week, we posted a plan, or a process and plan of how we would return to campus. The plan as of today is to return to campus for the fall semester, in part in person and in part online. We must be able to exercise social distancing, classrooms, labs, on campus, in all facilities. We must be able to ensure that all of the members on the campus have the necessary PPE, the personal protective equipment, including the masks. We must be able to ensure that those joining us on campus have a record of testing, or we could possibly be doing some testing. All of this is up for discussion. The good news is we are surrounded by partners, hospitals, St. Michael's across the street, University Hospital up the street, the medical school, obviously. So we are having conversations with many of our partners about how would we be able to return to blended or hybrid learning, some online, some in person, face-to-face. Who comes to campus, who stays home, how do we rotate if that's what we choose to do, how do we extend the learning opportunities for our students, whether they're by hours during the day or weekdays into the weekend. We want to make sure that what we are known for, which is a quality, hands-on education, remains the strength, the forte of our university, as so many alums have told us over decades now. So those are some of the additional changes we made, how we got ready, what we're seeing as the future going forward. And if Michael asks me a question about how we're able to do all of this financially, I'll be happy to give you additional detail.
Well, I think that teed it up pretty neatly. I will get to that question now in just a second. I did want to mention as an aside, I had a conversation a few weeks ago with an alum who's the CTO at New Jersey Transit, and he was amazed and a little bemused by the fact that he's in desperate need of mainframe programmers, COBOL programming. Not for nothing, but there's still a demand for it. And he said, if you know anybody, and I said, I might. So having said that, there's so much that goes into that sort of planning. What you just described touched not just on students, but touched on PPE, it touched on health, it touched on our connections with Newark and the local community. And I have been really thrilled to witness how all of this comes together into what really feels like a pretty smooth process. What has been unique about our approach here that's led us that's let us respond so quickly and so effectively to what was such a shocking development, I think, for many of us.
Well, Michael, and including yourself, please, it always takes a team. And whether it's the team that I mentioned of Fadi Deek and Andrew Christ, our longtime counsel, Holly Stern, there's a lot of regulation, executive orders that we need to make sure we understand, we can interpret, and then execute on. That's a lot of Holly's background. Obviously, in Ed Bischoff, our CFO, the budget issue. So let me touch on that very, very briefly. Shortly after we were told by executive order that we would be moving as a state to online education, we were also informed, and understandably so, by the governor that he would seek a $900 million reduction in expenditures in the state of New Jersey. And we were told that 50% of our monthly appropriation for March, April, May, and June would be frozen. That immediately gave us a $6 million deficit or budget gap. We obviously, every year, we start a new budget each July 1. It has to be balanced. The state budget has to be balanced. So now the governor tells us we're going to freeze $6 million of your assets over the next 4 months. This, by the way, was the middle of March. We obviously, as I mentioned, gave refunds to students. We lost monies that we anticipated earning. We have contracts that give us certain revenues. We have events that generate revenues for us. We do research, which again generates something called indirect cost recovery, more revenue. By the time we tallied up all of the revenue that we would lose from the state, from refunds and credits, from lost revenues, we had a $16 million budget gap and have to close it by June 30th of 2020. People immediately got busy, led by Ed Bischoff and the senior administration, including deans and chairs, and we said, what could we stop spending? What purchase orders can we cancel? What construction would have to be put on hold? What positions that we were recruiting faculty and staff would stop immediately? So there's basically now a hiring freeze. The good news is we have come very close to closing that $16 million budget gap. It was an amazing effort, including conferring with our faculty senate, our students, to ensure everyone understood what we were doing, why we would do it, give them an opportunity to give input. We got very many good ideas from our community. And we also have reached out to our community, which I'll come back to a couple times during this chat, Mike, if you don't mind, and we asked for our alums to help. First and foremost, I asked for the vice presidents to help. And that was to create a Highlander emergency fund. We kind of always had it, but we never needed it to the magnitude we need it today. So many of our students have lost their summer jobs. So many of our students lost their part-time jobs. We even have some students who lost their jobs upon graduation, or at least they're unclear. This is after our graduating students were having 3 and 4 job offers. So you've heard about this massive unemployment. It may well exceed 20%. Some are saying it's closer to 25%. This affects the families of our undergraduates. So we are very concerned about having money for our students. Yes, the feds gave us, we did get part of that CARES 3 Act that the legislature, federal legislature passed. They can do deficit spending. We did get 4.5 million against that 16 million. I'm sorry, 4,055,000 against that $16 million deficit. Our students have access to an equal amount of money, which we are distributing. Those, again, are to pay for disruptions from COVID-19, their living expenses, their commuting expenses, their technology expenses. So we are trying to add to that. We gave and we produced PPE, again, that personal protection equipment in makerspace, thousands of face shields. Some of our faculty wound up getting into the production of those swabs, nasal and throat swabs that you see necessary for COVID testing. Many of our faculty emptied their supplies. We have biomedical engineering, chemistry. They emptied their supplies of PPE, and we donated that to the Office of Emergency Management in the early days of the crisis, in the middle of March. We're still doing some of that. Many of our students volunteer. They're on EMS squads. Many of them are now in hospitals. They've graduated from NJIT. Many of them went on to medical school. Many of them are working in hospitals as technical people. So we have contributed heavily to our community, to our state. We are asking our alums, 100% of the vice presidents have now contributed to that emergency fund, emergency student fund, the Highlander Emergency Student Fund. Our trustees are in the middle of doing that as well. We've asked our overseers, and we will soon talk about this again at our day of caring for NJIT and NJIT students. This has truly been devastating for much of our campus community. We have students who lost family members. I've heard from a number of them about that. So we are trying to give them the emotional support, make sure we are there, continuing a lot of events online as we are doing this chat for our students. And I am sure that many of us know of people who did get ill and have recovered, and people who just lost their lives during this tragic period of time in our history. Thank you, Michael.
So I thought there's so much that you're describing there that I think is really interesting for alumni to know about, possibly to contribute to. And so much of what we've been focused on, at least in our conversation now, is coronavirus. I do want to step out of that for a moment because, as we know, the world continues in any one of a number of other ways. And I've seen news article after news article talking about non-coronavirus related news that's fantastic for NJIT. I wonder if there's anything that stands out to you about some new rankings or new information that maybe alumni should know about that's good news for us.
Well, many of you know I have a little bit of a feel I do when I see you in person. And Diane and I do miss seeing many of you in person. We had a whole itinerary of travel for this spring, which has obviously since been canceled. So you've heard about, we've had an amazing series of successes that has been built up over the years. That R1, Research 1, we're only one of 131. We're only one of 3 in New Jersey, Princeton, Rutgers, NJIT. While I'm talking about the 3, soon to be released, I believe it's embargoed still. We got notice early on, and some of you write to me about this particular ranking. It's called the, T-H-E. The is the London Times Higher Education Evaluation, if you will. And it's a joint effort of the London Times and the Wall Street Journal. It's a international, it's a global ranking, top 1,000. NJIT has been in the top 1,000 internationally ranked universities since it started probably about a half a dozen years ago. And typically we are joined by 3 other New Jersey universities. Obviously Princeton, you know, they're always at the top of all of that good stuff. Rutgers, big sister state university, and Stevens and NJIT. We just got notice, which I guess I can say, even though it's still embargoed, when they ranked within that 1,000 ranking the New Jersey universities, where we historically had been fourth, beyond Princeton, Rutgers, and Stevens. We now know, when it comes out publicly, in New Jersey, in that ranking of 1,000 universities worldwide, in New Jersey, we will be number 3. So we have clearly displaced somebody. I am not going to prognosticate who that is. I highly doubt it's Princeton, but I'll leave that up to others. We'll see it soon enough. So those of you who've written to me about our rankings, and there have been a number of you on this one in particular, because the Wall Street Journal and a lot of our alums seem to read the Wall Street Journal, makes a big deal about announcing the more local universities in the area of the Wall Street Journal, and that includes obviously New Jersey. So that is a very positive ranking. We expect to stay in the top 100 U.S. News and World Report. Our numbers every year do better. We're graduating more of our entering freshman class. We are retaining more. Here's a metric which Ken Alexo, our very good vice president for development, likes me to talk about when we're out there on the stump, if you will, and that is alumni giving. Our alumni giving is now at or about 10%. When you look at U.S. News and World Report, the column all the way over to the right is what is the percent of your alumni who give back? That is a surrogate, it's a metric that says, well, this is how satisfied they were with the institution, and therefore they're willing to give back. I ask you to please continue that, whether it's to this Highlander Emergency Fund or elsewhere. And it doesn't necessarily matter how much could be important, but just that you give annually. And that's what I ask of our alums. I have some other comments which I can make about other asks we may make of you going forward. Also, to pick up on Mike's theme about what else, we will be finishing our 2020 Vision 2020 plan. And you may recall we had KPIs, key performance indicators, 44 of them. It should end this coming September. We're going to move it up 6 months just because we've been bogged down with other very critically important issues and have not been paying attention to collecting all the data and all the analysis. We will do very well on those 44 indicators, some of which I already mentioned. Our graduation rate continues to improve. Our enrollment continues to improve, as I've already stated. Our diversity, particularly female faculty, has continued to improve in numbers, not necessarily percent, but we have many more female faculty as we do students on campus. Many of our more senior alums like to tell me about the 2s and 3s, the number of women that they had in their classes at the time. That has very much changed, as you can imagine. So we are continuing to work hard on a process of continuous improvement, a strategic plan with very measurable KPIs. A number of you, including alums, participated in 2020 Vision. A number of you have participated in the planning that's going forward. Now, building on a strong foundation, is the 2025 strategic plan. We've begun to unveil that. That has included, again, faculty input, student input, alumni input, trustees, and all of our boards, our board of overseers, our industrial advisory boards. So we are very much looking forward to continuing to function as we have in the past. Face-to-face in-person education is critically important for our STEM majors. However, we can do a lot more online. We've learned that. And we will do a lot more online. We have some 25 complete online master's degrees. We're going to launch more online certificates. In these kinds of economies, those interested in upskilling always appreciates, particularly should there be interim layoffs as there are now. So we are gearing up to improve the top line of the university's budget by doing more training and more online education, particularly at the master's level, but obviously at a necessity to manage again COVID-19 at the undergraduate level as well. So we look forward to a day when we can be back enjoying our campus. I happen to be there Monday of this week. It looks lush, it's green, the buildings look great. Most of the people on campus, we still have some people who can't get home, some of our international, we've got about 150. But we also have a lot of workmen, HVAC guys, electrical guys, people doing and continuing to improve and do the repairs on our facilities. So those are the people we see on campus today. A little bit lonely looking, but the campus does look great. Thank you, Michael.
So I just have to say, I'm always thrilled when we can get some breaking news on a Highlander chat. I think we should get a ticker like CNN has. We'll rotate it on the bottom there about rankings. I can't wait for that to come out officially. Congratulations, obviously. And thanks so much for the details there. I know it means a lot to alumni. My last question really is, you're speaking to an audience right now of 60 to 70,000 alumni who are living domestically and around the world, and are really interested to see not just what NJIT is doing, but how they can help support the school. And I know you've touched on that a little bit. I wonder if there's a couple key areas where you would tell alumni who have been reaching out, by the way, week over week, month after month, to say, what can I do? What would you tell them to do?
Excellent question, Michael. Thank you. I mentioned a little bit, join a board. We have industrial advisory boards. We have college advisory boards. Every one of our colleges, including some of our recently named one, Hillier, Barbara and Bob College of Architecture and Design. We have, of course, the Yingwu College of Computing Science, an alum, the Tuckman School of Management. Join those, the Dorman Honors College. How can I forget the Dorman Honors College? Join one of those boards. Join an industrial advisory board. Come to an alumni event. We love the alumni events, seriously, whether they've been in China, in Taiwan, in Egypt, or next door in New York City. So very important alumni events. In the future, we will have Alumni Weekend. It grows every year. Come to Alumni Weekend. Join your class, in particular when they celebrate. You can ask us to help. Today, I was earlier in something called an NJI board, New Jersey Innovation Institute, something we've created at the university, which has helped us in working with business and industry. And a gentleman who's a staff member there, Will Lutz, he's doing work with alums on entrepreneurship and invention and innovation, even leading to patents. So whether you contact me or find Will Lutz, Lutz, at NJII or NJIT, we help faculty. We help alumni, rather, with faculty input as well. And of course, please, think about when you were here, if you received help financially, and many of you I know did, and even if you didn't, how important it is for overall economy here in this country and worldwide to have STEM educated workforce, STEM related research. You've heard repeatedly during this crisis about the need for science, the need for technologists, the need for well-designed, engineered design, medical equipment. We are working on some of that as we speak. So we ask you to continue to think about who we are, what we have done for you, and how you can help us financially. Please seriously consider giving back to your alma mater, who I know for the vast majority of you served you well thus far in your life experiences. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Bloom. My last, it's more of a comment, but I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of alumni out there. We are thrilled that you're doing well. We're thrilled that the other Dr. Bloom, Diane Bloom, is doing really well. And I hope that the rest of your family is doing well as well. We're all thinking of you. And also want to just give thanks for your leadership and in bringing the college to such great success. So thank you.
Thank you. Please, everyone, stay well, stay healthy. And I really do look forward to seeing many of you in person.
Thank you so much. All right, that was our most recent Highlander chat with President Joel Bloom, president of NJIT. You heard some updates about our rankings. You heard how the university has been responding to the coronavirus epidemic and a variety of other information. So please make sure to watch this, watch it a second time. I would highly encourage that. Check out some of the updates that Dr. Bloom shared. If you have questions for Dr. Bloom, please make sure to leave them in the comments of the social media where this video is posted. That's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on. Follow us on social media. You'll find us at NJIT Highlanders. You'll find us at NJIT and at NJIT Alumni in any one of those social media channels. Finally, remember to stay connected with us. We have some events that are coming up. Many of them are digital. We look forward to welcoming you back to campus when we open back up. And in the meantime, I want to offer my best wishes and the best wishes of the Alumni Association to you and your families for safe and well-being. So thanks again. I look forward to speaking with you again soon, and go Highlanders.